ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ ਭਾਜੀ?
I'm pretty good, humble brother. How are you doing?
Oh, go. I'm sorry. I thought you speak. मेरी English इतनी अच्छी नहीं है तो इस वजह से मैंने ट्राई की कि हिंदी और पंजाबी बोले।
ना पंजाबी बोल लो, अंग्रेजी बोल लो, हिंदी सानू आउंदी नहीं, बस हिंदी चो सानू नफरत है।
भाजी, actually, you know, I am originally from Pakistan, but I am Canadian and US citizen too. I study with Punjabis in Humber College in Toronto. You know, while studying with Punjabis, I find out they are very hardworking. Okay, they work hard, they do party, they do enjoy, they make their own money. Punjabis, they do not do any kind of politics. They do not do backbiting. They don't do leg pulling.
Okay, humble brother, just hold on. We have a topic to discuss today. Okay, we'll.
I went to USA. I hired a lot of people.
No. Hold on, humble brother. Hold on. Okay, so we are here for a specific topic. I have a presentation. Okay. We'll be talking about that, and then later once the presentation is over,
I can go for listener.
we'll have a good discussion on everything. And you can let's wait for a couple of people to join, guys. Before we start today's discussion. Rich is here. Let me invite Rich as a co-host. I think I am Chotaji is here, which is great.
I can withdraw my mic. Actually, you can
that's fine. That's fine. That's up to you. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we have Rich. I am Chota. Everybody's here. We'll just give it a Rich and I am Chota. If you can just share the space, just retweet it. Let a couple of people join, and then we'll start the discussion. Okay. Yeah, we have. And while we're waiting for people. Okay, share screen. Let's share the window rather than the whole stuff. Akali ji is here. Akali ji, if you want to come to the speaker, we're gonna start in just a minute. Let a couple of more people join so that they can actually, listen to the discussion. So while people are joining, we are currently live streaming this on Twitter, on my YouTube channel as well, Finding Truth with Harjeet. So you can watch this on my YouTube channel, or you can watch this live on the Twitter through live stream. Plus, we have a Twitter space which is open in case you want to participate in the conversation and ask questions live. You can. You can also, put in questions in the live stream. I can see them here in the software that I'm using. So without further ado, let's just start. So people who have joined, if you want to follow, I am right now presenting. I have a PowerPoint presentation which is up on the live stream. You can see it. And as you see, the very first slide there is the White House order, the executive order that came out signed by President Trump on September 19th, 2025, I think somewhere around 4 p.m. They deliberately signed these orders on a Friday evening so that people, don't make don't kind of arbitrage in the stock market, and the politicians don't get into the business of making money. That's why most of these executive orders come out on Friday, right after the last bell sounds on the important stock markets in US. So that is when this executive order was signed. And it immediately made headlines. We saw articles come out from Washington Post, New York Times, Guardian, you name it. And everybody was kind of touting this as an earth-shattering executive order from President Trump, that finally he is reforming the H1B visa system. And I had high hopes as well. And rightfully so, because excessive immigration into United States is becoming a topic of increased focus, and it is also the very what you say main point that I would say the most important electoral point on which President Trump won the elections. Make America great again. And the biggest thing was immigration, and especially H1B immigration. And we'll talk about why that is so important, the H1B part of the immigration. So let's just quickly look at that. The when this executive order was signed, President had, I think, Secretary of Commerce, Lutnick was by his side. Secretary of Labor was there. The who and who of everybody was there, and they basically made a lot of confirmations that hey, this this is a visa fee. So as per the verbal statements of the president at that point, this is every time an H1B visa application is filed, every H1B employer will have to pay for every H1B applicant $100,000 fee per year. Okay, and basically they gave an impression that every time and every H1B applicant's employer will now have to pay to the government 100,000 US dollar per year. And they were also not very clear. They also gave an impression as if it is also apply for the existing H1B holders and not just the new ones. Just listen to the environment that was there and the impression that was given.
I think, Sean, you agree with that? Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just non-economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here. $100,000 a year for H1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it.
Renewals, first times. The company needs to decide, do they want, is that person valuable enough?
So $1,000 a year. Renewals, first time. Okay. So they are specifying whether you are renewing your H1B. Renewal happens when it is an H1B is actually for 3 years. You can extend it by 3 more years. It's called extension actually, and it's everybody gets an extension. So basically, an H1B is technically for 6 years. So he's saying even when the time of extension, you'll have to pay, and you have to pay every year. Okay, this is what he's saying.
To have $100,000 a year payment to the government, or they should head home and they should go hire an American. The whole idea, it's annual, and it's for total.
Okay, somebody asked it, is it annual? And he said it's annual.
It can be a total of 6 years. So $100,000 a year. So either the person is very valuable to the company and America, or they're going to depart and the company's going to hire an American, and that's the point of immigration.
Okay, great. So somebody even asked a clarification. Is this every year, this fees? He says, yes, it's annual. And it is for 6 years. Basically, he's saying annual for 6 years, which is 600,000 US dollars to get an H1B into US. And he talks about renewals as well as new applications. He's kind of silent on the existing ones, but I think the impression is everybody has to pay every year, because if it is annual, then that will include the ones who are currently holding H1B. Like if I'm completing 1 more year, I have to pay 100,000. So let's hear this out again, okay? All this that is being communicated in this press conference, and there's one particular moment wherein President Trump says, and he kind of lets the cat out of the bag when he says all of the companies, big tech is on board. Okay, and Trump says big tech, oh, they love it. Obviously, they will love it, and we'll know very soon why they will love this executive order. But here is it again.
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is No more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just non-economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it.
Renewals, first times. The company needs to decide, do they want, is that person valuable enough to have $100,000 a year payment to the government, or they should head home and they should go hire an American. The whole idea, it's annual, and it's for total, it can be a total of 6 years. So $100,000 a year, so either the person is very valuable to the company and America, or they're going to depart and the company's going to hire an American, and that's the point of immigration.
Okay, great. And
I think
and so this is what he said. Before we proceed, let's just say once he made this statement, okay, this is a heading, this is a headline, Washington Post, okay, and the headline says Trump unveils $100,000 yearly fee on H1B visas in clampdown on legal immigration. Okay. And I can guarantee you this headline was probably written by an Indian. I can 99% I'm sure this was written by an Indian. Let's look at what the other newspapers have to say. Let's say Guardian. What the Guardian is say. Here is Guardian. Trump signs proclamation imposing annual $100,000 fee on H1B visas. Move deals potential major blow to US tech industry, which relies heavily on workers from India and China. Again, this article is written by an Indian, okay, I can guarantee you. Not just Guardian, you name it, New York Times, everybody came out and confirmed the impression that the Trump and his minions gave in that so-called, press meet on Friday evening. They were very clear. It is annual. It will be paid by every H1B holders, and whether it is renewal or whatever. And so, and Lutnick was quoted here. Okay. Before we move on, and we were the debates. Rich Akaliji, is there any ambiguity till now in what these guys are saying or claiming? What this order is about?
Yeah, what you pointed out, them saying that the big corporations are fine with this, that kind of gives it away somewhat. But I feel like the pressure from Americans will be increasing overall for this.
Yeah. So let's not let the people know that I'm still treating as a. My question is this: till this time, if you had not known now what you know now, till this time, listening to Lutnick and Trump in that press conference, is there any ambiguity in their claim? Are they not clear enough that hey, it is an annual fee?
Yeah, I thought it was annual. I
Yeah.
thought it was every year.
Yeah, I think they're very clear, right? It's an annual fee. And he specifically says it's also for H1B renewals and new petitions, which means is it will also cover existing H1B holders. But guys, here is the news. I break it out to you. This is all fake news. This is all disinformation, propaganda. None of the things that Lutnick claimed in that press conference are true. Neither by Lutnick, neither by Trump. None of their claims are true. 90% of their claims are totally fake and false. And once this press conference came out, I said, okay, let me go and read the the executive order, and here is the executive order, and we are going to read it together. The executive order does not say anything about an annual fee. It is very clear. It is a one time fee and only for new applications which are going to come next year. Okay. And it's just one time. And it will have no impact on existing H1B holders. And you know what they have to do? They will continue for 6 years. And by the time their green card applications will be in, they don't require any renewal or extension. So they can have their, all the millions that we have now in the system, they can continue on the path that they are. Here it is, the executive order. Let's read the executive order and let's compare it to what these guys claimed in that. It's a total, like, I'm amazed, honestly, I'm amazed that a president and his so-called secretary of commerce are lying and like through their teeth to the American public. And till this time, there is no retraction, no apology from any of these guys. Total falsehood they basically propagated in that press conference. Here it is, okay? By the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. And the first couple of paragraphs are just about how H1B visa has been abused by companies, blah blah blah. How many? These are all just English, okay? Nothing. They have no bearing in legal bearing. So paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 paragraphs saying nothing except propaganda. Okay, H1B is bad, H1B has done this, H1B has done that. But here is the 13th paragraph where now we are talking about stuff. Like when the real proclamation is, what the law is. Here says, and I'm reading it here for you guys. The very first paragraph is most important. Accordingly, by the authority vested in me as the President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1. Restriction on entry. A, subsection A of section 1. Pursuant to sections so and so of the Immigration and Nationality Act, the entry into the United States of aliens as non-immigrants to perform services in a specialty occupation under section so and so is restricted, except for those aliens whose petitions are accompanied or supplemented by a payment of $100,000, subject to the exceptions set forth in subsection C of this section. This restriction shall expire, absent extension, 12 months after the effective date of this proclamation, which will be 12:01 Eastern Daylight Time on September 21st, 2025. So they're saying that this is a restriction of entry into United States. That's all. It is not saying that the existing people have to pay anything. It is saying just that anybody who has an H1B visa is entering into United States, and he's on H1B, his petition should have been accompanied by a payment of $100,000, subject to exceptions, and then there are exceptions to it. Okay. Now let's get to section B. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall restrict decisions on petitions not accompanied by $100,000 payment for H1B specialty occupation workers under section so and so who are currently under the United States for 12 months following the effective date of this proclamation as set forth in subsection A of this section. The Secretary of State shall also issue guidance as necessary and to the extent permitted by law to prevent misuse of B visa by alien beneficiaries of approved H1B petitions that have an employment start date beginning prior to October 1st, 2026. Okay, let me read again. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall restrict decisions on petitions not accompanied by payment for an H1B specialty occupation worker under section so and so of INA who are currently outside the United States for 12 months following the effective date of this proclamation as set forth in subsection A. So he's saying if somebody has filed a petition and the petition has been filed from outside, when the person is outside the United States, then the Secretary of State should ask for $100,000. Okay, but keep in mind, most of the petitions are filed when the person is already in. Okay, and should ask for $100,000 after 12 months from the effective date of this proclamation as set forth in subsection A. Again, this is a very confusing statement, but whatever it is. Okay, now let's see subsection C. This is the one where the exceptions are there. The restriction imposed pursuant to section A and B of this section shall not apply to any individual alien, all aliens working for a company, or all aliens working in an industry, if the Secretary of Homeland Security determines in the Secretary's discretion that the hiring of such aliens to be employed as H1B specialty occupation workers is in the national interest and does not pose a threat to the security or welfare of the United States. So what he is doing is, in this subsection, he is saying, yes, they have to, now new applications have to pay a fee, but the Secretary of Homeland Security can even waive off that fee. So tomorrow, if certain companies lobby him and say, hey, we are not a threat, look, we have vetted everything, the Secretary of Homeland Security, in his wisdom, can say applications coming from this company don't pose any threat, so let them go, or they are for interest of national security. What is national security? Cyber security? Information technology could be national security interest. So let them go. Okay, it's all his discretion. But section B is slightly confusing. I'm going to read this again. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall restrict decisions on petitions not accompanied by a $100,000 payment for H1B specialty occupation workers who are currently outside the United States for 12 months following the effective date of this proclamation as set forth in subsection A of this. Okay, so I think I read it correctly. He's saying if there is somebody has filed this H1B petition from outside, then he should restrict his decision from outside the United States. Now come to section 2, which is the compliance. Now the compliance, basically now what the applicant or the employer has to do. Section 2, subsection A. Employers shall, prior to filing an H1B petition on behalf of an alien outside the United States, obtain and retain documentation showing that the payment described in section 1 of this proclamation has been made. So what if they are inside the United States? It doesn't say anything. Section B. The Secretary of State shall verify receipt of payment of the amount prescribed in section 1 of this proclamation during the H1B visa petition process and shall approve only those visa petitions for which the filing employer has made the payment described in section 1 of this proclamation. Okay, good. Subsection C. The Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State shall coordinate to take all necessary and appropriate action to implement this proclamation and to deny entry to the United States to any H1B non-immigrant for whom the prospective employer has not made the payment described in section 1 of this proclamation. Remember, he's talking about only new petitions and those petitions filed for applicants from outside the United States. Okay, if the applicant is within, they don't have to pay. What that means is the extensions and renewals don't have to pay this fee. You're getting the point, Rich? Why this term outside of the United States comes? So if the H1B, only those H1B applicants have to pay who are basically fresh applicants, because these are mostly filed from outside. And so the renewals and extensions don't have to pay because they're filed from within the United States. Great trick. Okay, now section 3, scope and implementation of restriction on entry. Section 3, subsection A. The restriction on entry pursuant to subsection 1 of this proclamation shall apply only to aliens who enter or attempt to enter the United States after the effective date of this proclamation as set forth in section 1A of this proclamation, okay, which is 21st September 2021. Subsection B, no later than 30 days following the completion of the H1B lottery that immediately follows this proclamation, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Labor, and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall jointly submit to the President through the Assistant to the President and Homeland Security Advisor a recommendation on whether an extension or renewal of the restriction on entry pursuant to Section 1 of this proclamation is in the interest of the United States. So here he's saying that 30 days after the first H1B lottery that will happen after this proclamation, which I think is going to happen early next year, he's saying 30 days after that H1B lottery. So H1B nowadays, there are two type of H1Bs. There are certain categories where there is no cap, so it's unlimited number of H1Bs the government can issue, and there are certain categories where there is a cap, and in those caps, like if you have more petitions, then they do a lottery. Okay, so you're saying 30 days after that first lottery that will happen after this proclamation, thus these four guys have to tell me whether this we have to continue this. Because if it is it's too bad, let us say we don't get any petitions, then we can still kind of step back and say, hey, no, 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 you don't have to pay the fee. Okay, so it's kind of this what you call pressure wall that they have created in case they don't get any H1B visa. They're begging for H1B people to come in basically in this section. Section 4, amending the prevailing wage level. The Secretary of Labor shall initiate a rulemaking to revise the prevailing wage levels to levels consistent with the policy goal of this proclamation, consistent with section so and so. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall initiate a rulemaking to prioritize the admission as non-immigrants of high-skilled and high-paid aliens consistent with section 101, 1212, so and so, so and so. Why would you write that? He's saying shall initiate a rule making to prioritize the admission of as non-immigrants of high-skilled and high-paid aliens. Maybe there is a category where he's saying this does not apply and this has to be prioritized. Section 5, general provisions. This is just general provision, okay? So now you read this proclamation and you hear what that guy was saying. This totally does not match at all. What is written as the written word in the proclamation is totally opposite to what these gentlemen, Mr. Lutnick and Mr. Trump, were claiming in the so-called press conference. I have never seen such a blatant lying by a public official. Honestly, just for that press conference, if I am in Senate, I will probably bring an impeachment motion because there was no business of the president to sit there and lie to the American people in such a manner. And I believe like these what do you call these organizations like Washington Post, New York Times, The Guardian, they should be sued as well for lack of journalistic ethics, because it was very evident when you read the proclamation that it is not annual, the fee is one time. So what business did they have publishing these headlines but just to create a propaganda on behalf of the government, I would say. uh, did they not read the proclamation? Did they just take the written verbal word of the secretary? Like I, as an individual, okay, I am nobody. It's not my job. I am not a journalist. I am not a trained journalist. I am not a trained media person. But the very first time somebody sent me, what I said was, okay, let me read the proclamation before I go ahead and tweet based upon just what somebody is saying verbally. So when I read the proclamation, it was clear to me that hey, this is not a every year fee. This is a one-time fee, and it does not do anything to existing H1B applicants. This is just for new applications. Though we don't know what the impact will be. We'll not come to know maybe next year. But the mainstream media was running with fake headlines. Why, I wonder? But let's just look at what is this H1B, okay? And how many H1B visas are getting actually approved every year? Is it something that we should even worry about? Okay, here it is. So I went to another thing I found was the lack of transparency by USCIS on the H1B visas. Like there's a lot of good visibility on all kind of immigration, but for some reason, when it comes to H1B, there is just total mungling up and jumbling up of the numbers. They don't let you know the full picture. And I'm like, why are they not letting me know the full picture? So this is coming, the table that you see right now on the screen is coming from the annual report that USCIS submits to the Senate on the number of H1B petitions that were filed and that were approved. So if you see every year, this is the data from 2023 2019 5-year data. Every year, roughly 400,000 H1B petitions are filed and approved. You see the number of approval very closely matches the number of filings. There's hardly any difference. Almost all the petitions get approved. Now there is a catch in this, and MC kind of said that this might also have some of the renewal extension petitions included. Like extension, as I said, H1B is for 6 years, and initially it is issued for 3, but you can extend it to 6 years. This report that is there shows the total number of petitions approved. It does not give you the breakdown of how many are new and how many are extensions. Okay, and I tried to get the data, but nowhere they allow you to kind of differentiate. So that mumbles up, but let's assume 50%. Okay, let's assume 50% to be generous are new applicants coming out of this. So we are talking about that every year 200,000 new H1B foreign workers are coming into US. Okay? Keep it in mind, I am only talking about H1B. I am not even going to, there are hundreds, there are like 13, 14 different other visa categories. L1A, L1B, these B, that B. Okay? Let's just talk about H1B impact. 200,000 what you say people fresh coming into US every year just through H1B route, out of which 100 we know 75% are Indians, so 150,000 Indians, let's just do a simple math, are coming into US every year. All of us know the Indians who come in, they all have families. Okay, so multiply this by 4, because once they come in, they'll have kids, and they some have 4, some have 3, some have 2. But at least we are talking about all of these numbers are going to become 4 on an average. So we are talking about every year we are getting 600,000 immigrants just from India through H1B, just from H1B. For last, this data I'm showing you for last 5 years, but H1B has been there from like 1991. Okay, 1991. Let me make reasonable assumptions. Let me make an assumption that this rate has of 600,000 every year has only been there for last 10 years. So if that is true, then we are talking about 600,000 for last 10 years. We are talking about 6 million Indians entering US in last 10 years just under H1B. 6 million just under H1B. For the previous 20 years, let's say this rate probably for some reason went up. Let's just assume this for to give it other 20 years, let's say the rate was half. Okay. So let's say in that it will probably not even then if the rate was half, it will be 6 million, another 6 million coming in 20 years. So let's add those 6 million. So we are talking about 12 million Indians having entered United States of America under just H1B visa program in last 30 years, out of which 6 million came just in last 10 years. And we are just talking about H1B. And I'll tell you why I focus on H1B more. So, so we're talking about roughly 12 million Indians currently kind of floating around somewhere or here and there under all kind of H1B. And keep it in mind, H1B visa is for 6 years. Once you complete your 6 years, by the time you complete your 6 years, you are able to put up a petition for green card. You don't have to come for a second H1B. As long as you maintain your status, there are other ways. You can have marriage, you can have kids, uh, and then you also become eligible another route where the company can sponsor you for green card. Almost without fail, I have rarely seen an H1B go back to India. Okay, uh, almost all of them end up having a green card and end up with a citizenship. It does take a lot of time. It does take, like, some people get 10 years, some it takes 15 years, but in eventuality they will basically end up with a citizenship. So in the last 10 years we have 6 million Indians entering US on just H1B visa. Okay. So, and we are talking about Indian. I have taken out the non-Indians out of it. And all these people are in the most highly paid uh, professions that currently exist in US, which is IT. There are other categories as well, but most of the Indians come in the IT category. And if you look at the employers, you will see it is dominated by the IT employers, and there are other employers as well. So these are educated immigrants, but in huge numbers, huge, and also from one particular country, one ethnicity, India. And you can see that visually. Okay, and now if you add to this the illegal part, okay, the illegal Indians which are entering, I think they don't match these legal numbers. The illegal immigrants from India are also somewhere close, but not as high as these legal. And the illegal immigrants who come generally, used to cover persecuted minorities and all. They do blue collar work and small businesses. They don't take the highest paid jobs in the United States of America, like the brain of America. But these immigrants from India are basically taking on the brain, the most highly paid jobs in America. I have nothing against it, but I think we have to kind of understand what's going on. Okay, because the government is not telling the truth. The government is not sharing the data properly, and is actually giving, I would say, disinformation to the people. So so in the new order that H1B Trump passed, there is no impact on this category of H1B visas. Okay, these people have legally come in, and they will stay, and they'll continue. They'll get their green cards, they'll get their citizenships. Zero impact on them. So where is the impact going to come? Okay, so as I said, every year we have assumed there are 200,000 new H1B visa applications. So next year also we'll have 200,000 applications, fresh applications coming. Those applicants, their employers will have to pay 100,000 US dollars as part of the application. So will that have an impact? I think the impact will not be much, and I'll say why. Because the major sponsors of these there are two types of sponsors. These are generally big employers, kind of form the bulk, like Amazons of the world, and I'll show you that data. I think I have that data as well. Where is it gone? Let me try to bring that up. The Amazons of the world, and the Microsoft, the Googles, and all, and they sponsor it, and which is fine. uh, but these companies, on an average, and I also have a graph. I somewhere we had a graph which showed how much is the average salary that these companies pay to an H1B engineer, and their average salaries range from 150 to $250,000. Let's take the middle, like $200,000 is what their salary is to these uh, H1B applicants. So the cost to a company, typical IT company of an H1B applicant, is anywhere between 300,000 US dollars to 400,000 US dollars. So if that is true, let's take the lower bound, like 300,000 US dollars is a cost to company for every H1B, fresh H1B applicant. Um, uh, and it is for 6 years. So multiply $300,000 by 6 years. So company is paying as salary roughly $2 million per H1B applicant. That's their cost over 6 year period. On the $2 million, now their expense has gone up by 100,000 US dollars. What is in percentage wise? Like of 2 million, like $100,000 is how much? 5%. So their cost goes up by 5%. Okay. It's something 5% per employee that you're getting, but is it something that's going to change their decision? I doubt it. In terms of comparing it against the American worker, so versus hiring an H1B, I think the cost to benefit ratio still does not change much, at least for the big tech. I'm talking about the big tech, and the big tech is the major sponsor of H1B visas. The what you say, there could be some H1B categories sponsored by really small players like agriculture, God knows what other category, nurses and all. They might start to feel that those are not very highly paid professions, and in those professions there could be some impact in the terms of the number of petitions we see next year. But it's next year. We'll come to know when we get the petitions, okay, how much of impact is there and in which category of it. But for that, we'll have to wait for 7-8 months to see the impact. But people should be clear that there is no impact on what have already gotten into the door. Yeah, dark light has come. Dark light, go ahead.
Where did you get the 200,000 number from? As far as I know, it's 65,000 per year.
Yeah.
20,000 for advanced degree.
No, it's not 65. 65, I think what you're saying, there are different numbers I get. And that's where the problem is, like, we are not getting cooler. What I pulled was the USCIS report, which says, like, how many petitions were approved every year. Okay. Now, they don't give you a breakup of how many are, how many petitions are renewals, extensions, and how many are fresh. Okay. So but what you can do is, so I kind of took a ratio that, let's say 50% is 50% is
Your
renewals.
calculation, you said 200,000.
Yeah. So
Renewals means they must be already inside the country, and some will be cap exempt.
Yeah.
Which means they got already picked, but they might have applied the next year. But it's overall, it's like 85,000 is the max every year, out of which 73% is close to Indians.
No, but when you say overall is 85,000, that is cap, right? There are many cap exempt categories.
Yeah, 85,000 is a new every year.
No, but that's not, there is no overall cap. That overall cap is for certain categories. There are certain cap exempt categories. So we never know what is the total H1B visa issued. So that's why when I look at this 400,000 numbers, they don't give you this breakdown. I've been trying since last night. Okay. So there are cap exempt categories. They don't tell you how many were issued in the cap exempt category. They just tell you this on this entire website. The only number I got was that 400,000 total H1B is approved, and I tried different kind of ways to get it. And if you can get me more detail, I'm more than happy. This is a report that they submit. They should provide that breakup.
No, cap exempt also. Let's say if somebody is picked in lottery for a year 2025, but they have not proceeded to get it approved the same year, but the following year the person might be applying to get it approved. So that will not go to the lottery again, but instead it get approved. So the last years will be carried forward to the next year. So if you sum up both the years, it will be like 85,000 per year. It won't exceed that limit regardless.
No. Cap. What do you mean cap exempt? Cap exempt is different categories which don't come under the cap. So certain non-profits and universities, they don't need to. There's a whole list there. They are
They
cap
won't come
exempt.
in the H1B in that case.
No, that's in H1B. So in H1B, that's what I'm telling you. In H1B, H1B, there are certain certain categories which are capped. So there's an overall cap there, and there are different caps there. Okay, that caps total amounts to 110,000. All the cap categories. Then there is a cap exempt category. Like in those categories, if you get H1B, certain types of employers, they do have no cap. They can get unlimited number of H1Bs. So that cap exempt category, we don't know that number. The caps, if you add up all the categories of caps, okay, 85,000 plus there is another category of cap, it comes to around 110,000. The cap exempt category, how much they issued, the data is not shared on the USCS website. That's what I'm telling. You can only make a guess. So the way you can make a guess is when I'm looking at the total approved petitions every year, it is 400,000. So I'm saying that half of them, let's say, I know that the minimum is 110, the cap one. I don't know the number of what the non-cap was. So I'm saying out of the 400,000, let's assume that 200,000 roughly, because we don't know the what the cap exempt is. 200,000 is fresh applicants and 200,000 is just the extension. That's how I came up with that one. We can debate the number, but that number will be somewhere between 110 to $400,000. You can pick your number of choice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
With the cap exempt, according, and I may not come across, I don't have multiple people, but that's very rare. But the majority of the
No, we don't know that. We don't know that it's very rare because there is no data that shared.
it looks like the numbers are beefed up. But anyway, yeah, move on.
No, the numbers are not beefed. I'm telling you, the cap exempt. If they were, it actually raises doubt that maybe it is the bigger category, because why is the USCS not sharing that number? Okay, if they share it, like it hardly takes anything. They can just put that number up and they share all this data, but why are they not sharing it? Anyways, we'll talk about it. So it's a reasonable assumption that we know the minimum just the caps themselves add up to 110,000. We know total 400,000 were approved, out of which some are renewal, some are cap exempt. So I took 200,000. Okay, and the number could be anywhere between 110 to 400,000. So pick your number of your choice. I make a reasonable one on 200K. So on the 200K, we arrive at around, the number of these, just H1B. We are not even talking about L1Bs and all these other, categories of visas and illegal ones and God knows what other stuff. But there's a very nice article here that came out, and let me just try to pull that article if I can. Where has it gone? And this is a very nice article that just I got across. Somebody shared it. Thanks for whosoever shared this article. Insider Report, Pay to Play Politics by Amanda Goodall. Let me share my screen here. Okay. And she has written a good article, I think, on this. I think this is a good assessment of what is going on. She's saying, I'm not going to sugarcoat. Over the last 24 hours, the conversation around Trump's 100,000 H1B user fee has been a mess of misstatements, bad takes, and misplaced outrage. I've got a really strong opinion on this H1B news. I'm not celebrating. I look too much into the workforce data to not care. I have said more than once that H1Bs are the distraction to what's going on with the workforce and the corporate revolution. If they really cared about the US jobs, H1B would be gone tomorrow. But it's not. That tells you everything. So here it is. She clarifies. She said it is not retroactive. So it does not impact the millions of people who have entered US today. It has no impact on them, no bearing. Current H1B visa holders are not affected. Even their travel is not affected. The renewals are exempt. Okay. So here you had a secretary who was lying, Secretary of Commerce lying on national TV. He was specifically asked. He said, yes, renewal are there, but his proclamation clearly says that renewals are not to be taxed. This is a one-time petition fee, not an annual tax, and it is a one-time. It is not annual. So if you already have an H1B, you are fine. If you are filing new, you or your sponsoring company, anybody can pay, need $100,000 on the table. That's all. And for many of these companies, the big tech, it's not going to be a big issue. Anyways, um, this is that video that they put together. Let's hear what they say again. This video. Let me see. Oh, but I think this is not the video. It's just a picture. Anyways, White House spin versus reality. Here is the press secretary. Okay, the press secretary. Once these headlines came out, the press secretary had to come out and issue a clarification. She says, to be clear, okay, this is the tweet from Caroline Levitt. This came, I think, next day. Basically, once there was like everybody was saying, "Hey, maybe the Indians panicked a bit," and they started calling the donors. Probably started calling the White House that, "Hey, why are you troubling my constituents?" So the press secretary had to come and issue a clarification. They had to make like the president and the secretary eat their own words. To be clear, Carolina says, this is not an annual fee. It is a one-time fee that applies only to the petition. Number two, those who already hold H1B visas and are currently outside of the country right now will not be charged $100,000 to re-enter. So she's saying, don't panic about the. It's good actually. Personally, I feel it's good for those individuals that they are outside traveling, that they're not like it would have been terrible. Like if somebody has gone on vacation, his family is here, and then you are stopping them to re-enter. But so that's good. I think this point is actually good. The H1B visa holders can leave and re enter the country to the same extent as they normally would. Whatever ability they have to do, that is not impacted by yesterday's proclamation. Number three, this applies only to new visas, not renewals, and not current visa holders. This, I think, is something they should change. I think this is the key. Because if the intention is to, and then in the last, he says it will first apply to the next upcoming lottery cycle. So I have a political opinion on what they should have done. But the real point is this, that what they are clarifying right now is exactly opposite to what they said in the press conference. So why was the President of the United States and Secretary of Commerce lying to American people is my question. I'm basically flabbergasted uh, by this. Uh, Tariq Jajuaji, thank you for joining. You have anything to say? Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I mean, as you know, that entire India is crying actually like a widow. But this is what you're saying, that they actually kneel down. It's not that I mean, look like, because they're saying the fee. Pay attention to what they're saying. They're saying the fee. It will not be applied to the current visa holders. But let's not forget the new wage, minimum wage, which will be set as minimum 150,000. 99% of these H1 visa holders are not worth of 150,000 or more. So this may look like very innocent and very back down, kind of action. But fact the matter is, the Indians know that they're not worth it that much, even if they are not being charged 100,000.
I would say that's not accurate, Tariq Paji. When you look at the we have data available on this, okay, and I'm just googling right now while you talk. Let's Google the average pay of paid by employers sponsoring H1B. I think there was a nice graphic on this that yesterday we had gotten by the top employers, and that average pay is anywhere from 150 to like 300,000 US dollars. We're talking about the big tech. Here it is, and I just got that average. This thing, the cognizant average, and keep in mind this is average, okay? So all the big tech except the Indian techs, pay less, like Infosys, Cognizance of the world. They might be the ones who might get the bearing. And I have the number here. Let me just pull this image up.
Can you tell me where did you get these data? Because I have something else.
Yeah, this is some other website, but I'll show you that. I'll show you the graphic, and then you can see if that looks correct or not. Let me go back to the presentation here. Okay, let me insert the picture. Okay. Sorry, I'm kind of making my PowerPoint presentation while I'm doing all this. Where the hell is the picture gone? Okay. Let me share the screen itself. That'll be better. Here's a Yahoo article, and then where is the occupation? Yeah, here is the image. Let me share the screen, and you can see it probably on my screen now. You see this. Top H1B sponsoring companies and average salary. This is 2024. And keep in mind, Tariq Paji, when many of these companies give their average salary, they don't count many of the things that they pay, okay? They don't count stock options, some other kind of bonuses, blah, blah, blah. They just talk about the cash component that they pay. So actual salary is higher, okay? So if you see, most of the tech is paying 150 or close to that or above that. The ones which are close to $100,000, those are the Indian giants, Infosys and Cognizant. And I said again, like, I think they are just underreporting right now the salaries. The moment this new regulation comes, you have to pay them 150 and above. They will just start showing what is the actual pay. Okay, the bonuses, stock option, they will just restructure the pay to include all their bonuses as part of the pay to cross that hurdle of 150K salary. So there'll be some probably impact on Cognizant Infosys, but I doubt if it's gonna have big impact on big tech. It might have some impact on, let us say, as you go down, right? There are certain probably really small tech companies which are paying really less. They might get impacted, or who are gaming the system. But I don't see many of these bigger players having really bothered about it. Now, there's one aspect that is true, that we calculated that the impact will be less, right? Because we said it's for 6 years. But technically, no employer looks at an employee for as if they're going to be there for 6 years. Okay.
Yeah, please check that. I sent you in DM.
I'll check it.
And this is by USCIS, so
okay,
more in line.
Okay. Yeah, the employers generally look at an employee at a 2 to 3 year horizon. That's the general tenure, right? Or 3 year horizon. So even if the H1B visa is for 6 years, the employers probably have in mind that this employee will be for 3 years with us. So it's a $33,000 per year additional kind of a burden they have to carry on the paycheck for every H1B applicant. So it does enter the calculus, I would say. It's not that it's kind of totally meaningless, but not a big deal for big tech. But yeah, Tariq Paji, you sent me something else as well. Let me pull what Tariq Paji has said. MDM. This is the same report that I have looked at.
Yeah, there is no average. I
mean, this is like, I don't know where you got that number. Because the initial job appointment is between 60 and 100.
No, pull the latest one. No? This is 2022, 23. Pull the one for 24.
Yeah. Okay, let me see.
Which page do you want me to refer to?
I mean, the entire, start from the top when, let me show you.
Oh, this doesn't have the wage data. Yes, this doesn't have the wage
Yeah,
data.
it does.
It has the wage data? Where does it?
Yes.
Where is that?
Okay, so there are many. They actually show the initial employment experience, and then
Let's say.
This is 3.7, section 3.7.
Here is the compensation. Yeah, I'm at the compensation.
14.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm at the compensation right now. Yeah. The median is between 108 to 120, right?
Right.
And now it is different for different fields.
Yeah. So the initial employment is between 75 to 124,000. Continued employment is from 100,000 to 163,000. All beneficiaries between 90 and 153. But remember, now they have to start initial from 175. Furthermore, if you go down and see that, which industries they are, computer related is between 90,000 to 163,000. Architectural engineering and surveying between 80,000 to 140,000. Education, this is something has to be like will stop 60 to 80,000. Administration specialization is like 70,000 to 100.
No, that's one. I have it on the screen. Let's talk to the people. Okay, I have it right now on the screen. So, couple of things in this. Okay, this is 23 data. Okay, very clever. That's why I say like these guys. There's something fishy going on when it comes to H1B. They are not showing the full picture. No. So they give the 25th percentile, the 75th percentile. Okay, and that's the 70th percentile. That's not the 90th percentile for initial employment.
Correct.
And then they give you the median. Why are they not giving the average? Now, in this data, I don't know where the skew. So, median does tell me something that 50% of them are before 94. But I don't know above 94. I know the 124, like. But again, keep this in mind. This is 23 data. The pay has gone up by now every 2 years. The base kind of keeps going up. It's around by 8 to 9% in tech. Then, what these companies, big tech, probably are doing, and this is I'm talking out of my experience, that they are just telling the base salary. Okay. If there's a lot more to salary, the salary structure compensation tends to be very complicated, Tariq Paji. There are so many things that they today exclude. They can start showing that they are paying to kind of show what the real cost to the company. As I said, I have seen like even the in my experience, okay, in my experience, and I'm no authority. In my experience, the minimum cash that is paid to an H1B is somewhere around 150K minimum. There are some people who are getting paid in millions. Let's ignore them. Okay. There are some who are in 500,000, 300,000, 400,000 category. The starting category, okay, when you are getting fresh somebody from outside in, it's starting minimum at 150 when you add everything up. And then the cost to company, which are other expenses which they never pay to the employee, is almost double of that. So the cost to company every year of an H1B, even the starting person, okay, like coming from outside, is close to $200,000 to $300,000, anywhere between $200,000 to $300,000 for big tech. So let's say 250K to be an average, right? So 250. Let's say their time horizon, while the H1B is for 6 years, they're only looking at 3 years. So we're talking about $700,000 that a company is looking to spend on an H1B. On that, now there'll be a tax of $100,000. It is something. It is not. It's not nothing. But if it's going to fundamentally change, make them change their decision, we'll have to see. We'll have to see, and we'll come to know, Tariq Paji, when the petitions come in next year, right? When the new petitions come in, we'll see how many are we still hitting the cap, or are the number of petitions less than the cap, and that will tell us, whether there's an impact of this or not. I don't think. I think they'll still hit the cap. And good data. Thank you for sharing. But I think this is a Tariq Paji good one. I think the pressure has to be there, and this is what I feel is the right thing to do. Somebody gave this suggestion. These are the things that probably the government should do. Here is Gabe Gudiarini, and let me share my screen. And he has good suggestions. He says, make it an annual fee, which is what they actually claimed in the press conference. Uh, then he says, charge H1B holder outside the country 100 to re-enter. I don't agree with this. I think if their families here, what's the point of number two? Like it's useless. If you are here, you don't have to put a restriction on entry. You just have to say that, hey, you have to pay. Your employer has to pay this every year. That's it. And if they're not paid, then you have certain time in which you get time to kind of figure out something else. Uh, Also apply this for renewals and current visa holders. Correct. This is important. Apply this for renewals and current visa holder. Why not? What's the point of putting it only on the new this thing? Uh, and that I think will remove the lacuna that they have in this entire setup. But I think this is what their intention was when they signed it. But probably they were tackled by the big tech. As I said, it is not easy to take on the Indian lobby today in America. The Indian lobby owns big tech. They are the main funders, and somebody came up with this picture, which I find very funny. Point of view of the Trump administration caving to the Indian foreign lobby, Indian foreign labor lobby, less than 24 hours. So if you can see this, I think it's kind of quite. Some people are really funny. Uh, nothing is H1B applicants, but there is a problem. It's a political problem now. It has to be solved, and I think that somebody took a name. Rich, there's a new name for Trump. They have Taco. Have you heard about it? Have you heard about this name, Taco?
No.
Rich is gone. S is here. S, have you heard about this new slang for Trump, Taco?
Yes, I just heard it. Yeah. But I'm still a little confused and need clarification. So, in the press conference, this is annually, but some saying is per just once. So, what is the real situation? Is it annually or it's just one-time payment, $100,000?
The press secretary has clarified now. It is one time for new petitions. And so basically, I think what happened was that after the press conference, they got call from their donors in big tech. Majority of them are Indians, and who basically said, "What are you saying?" And Trump basically chickened out. That's why the name Taco. Trump again chickened out. That is the full form of TACO, TACO. Yeah. So Trump does make these huge, announcements. I'm going to do this big red button. I'm going to nuke North Korea. But then when it comes to action, he seems to be chickening out. Especially to the Indian lobby. It's not easy.
See,
yeah.
I understand, but you see, you got to understand this. What it seems on the paper doesn't mean that it will go down like that. No. Just hold on to it when it comes the wedding process. Remember that majority of these Indians get that many numbers because they actually, scam the system by applying multiple companies at the same time. And all those companies are majority of them are scam fraud anyway. So they're going to find out where there are similarities and how many. There are a lot of things are coming in next few months, and this is going to be a silent operation.
Yeah. I think that could be true, Tariq Paji, like what you're saying, and but I think no, not to take some credit away. H1B is a holy cow. Okay, moment any president is touching it, he is risking his very job. That is a sad reality, and in a good way, it is coming out now through Trump. I don't want to take credit away from Trump. I think by going even this far, and even by inviting the criticism, he has gone where nobody else was even willing to talk about. And this is the reality that and it is good that there's a discussion happening on this, and the American public has to wake up that how much of our country is controlled by big tech and big money, and with some specific people from specific countries, and the way the political system works. And so we'll see how much action they're able to take. The thing is that this is not the spirit of the this will actually, honestly, this $100,000. My assessment is it will have an impact on the scam that was going on, right? Like you pointed out, you have couple, you want to, you have three, or it was not a scam; it was legally allowed. Like you could have multiple employers put in your application. So sometimes they come up with these small employers whose only job is to put their application if somebody has the money, pay to play kind of stuff. Uh, Maybe it will have some impact on that kind of a fraud. But the mute point of this entire touching H1B was not just stopping the fraud that's happening in it. I think the concern overall that the Americans have is that hey, just the sheer amount of immigration that is happening is that's changing the fundamental characteristics of the country, and that too, if it is all coming from one particular geographic area and one particular region, where people with a one particular bent of mind are entering in such large numbers in such short period of time, then it creates a national security issues and other kind of issues, and that has to be resolved. So this proclamation does nothing to resolve that problem in the short run or in an immediate relief. It's kind of a bit of a testing the waters is what I would say. Yeah, S, go ahead. You had your hand raised. S, you had your hand raised. Go ahead.
My mic was not on blur. Yeah, so just one thing, like so many people coming from one particular country, it's just changed the workplace ethics. I mean, America has its own workplace ethics now. Like the Americans have to adjust to Indian work ethics. So it's like, rather than Indian becoming adjust to the American way of at work ethics. So it has just completely changed the nature of American tech. So that's why all the American tech workers are so opposed to this H1B now, because they have to comply with Indian cultures to work in tech.
Yeah, that's some legitimate concern in terms of, because the diversity always helps, right? So diversity in the workplace is super important for innovation, especially in tech. And I think it's a genuine question, like that the monopolization, especially in tech, of people with a particular background, and that is not good technically over a long period of time. But my objective of this space is just to highlight that people can understand what the proclamation does and what it does not do, and because there's a lot of disinformation. And what I was really surprised, and this is where I am kind of going, and Negan is here. Negan might have a good view on this. Let me invite Negan. Um, what I'm trying to understand is why was there such a, why did Washington Post, New York Times, and everybody else kind of jump in on this and try to give a fake or false impression to the public? Or what is the thought process? Was it more to just generate fear or just generate some effect on the foreign policy of India? Was that kind of behind the calculus? Negan, how are you?
I'm good, Paji. How are you?
Good, good. Negan, you generally understand things very well, right? So I've seen like, what are the purpose? Like, this proclamation does what it does, right? But what was the purpose of the administration overplaying it so much to the extent that they were basically lying to the American people? And why would Washington Post come up with misleading headlines and, oh, it is annual fee and all that stuff, like, which obviously was not true. Any cursory reading of the proclamation told you that, hey, this is not what the proclamation says. Why were they trying to hype this up so much?
Yeah, I think there could be two reasons. The first reason that I could come up with is that they just want to tell Indian people that these jobs are really well, and you want to be here. As I have seen Indian people celebrating India more than they are Indians. They are still Indians. They wish good for India and always wish bad for America if they both go into conflict or something. So they are always wishing for India, and they don't care that they live in such a good country. They have such a good life. I think this like shock will let them know that this is a really good country to live up with, and I think it will. They never understood that they could face such a thing. That could be the first reason, or I think um, Trump administration did what they would have done, and later on, tech companies did a lobby and quickly and got the things changed a bit. That could have been also happened in this.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. The sorry, which was the last point you said, Negan? Last point I missed.
Yeah, maybe like administration did what they want to do, and a lot of things what was told may have been changed later on by the tech companies. They would have lobbied against it, lobbied for it. Sorry.
Tariq Saab. I think that's a very funny thing. Tariq Saab, could it have happened? Okay, that Trump told his team to draft an executive order. Okay, all these guys, which will do this and all that, and and it'll be a fee and all. And they said, okay, that done. And Trump and all these guys didn't even read it, but it was all drafted by Indians in the back end. Okay, knowing very well that these idiots are not even going to read it properly. And they went to the press conference trying to create this hoopla and say, oh yes. And then when the journalist asked a question, it's annual. Obviously, they said, yeah, it's annual. But in reality, the fine print was something else, which the Indians in the White House were writing, and they realized later on that they didn't knew what they were signing. Could that be also? Could that happen?
Can I answer it instead of Tariq first?
But I don't think that is the case. Witkoff was there, Stephen Miller was there, so they are not stupid. They probably had something for those, Indian, lobbies to satisfy them. But overall, if you look at the program, the new program, it is really in the best interest of the American people. I mean, you see that young generation, they can get paid better. Just have a look at it. They were paying like 60 to some $70,000 or $80,000 to the initial employment. Imagine that some young kid that who just graduated. I mean, you can't offer him this pay. I mean, he has a lot of loans. He's not going to live with his buddies and stuff like that. Probably he will have a girlfriend, wife, or something. He can never afford that, and to pay off his college loan and stuff. So I think for a long term, it will discourage the scam that was.
I'll just ask you to hold on, Tariq, but you will come to that. I want to take Negan's opinion on my hypothesis. Could this have happened that that they just got taken for a ride by the Indian writers in the back end?
This is not like some Punjab government that somebody drafted something and we just signed it. Somebody signs it without reading it. I don't think there would be like any file which Trump signs or somebody signs in Oval Office would have gone through like 20 people maybe. So I don't think I don't agree with you, Harjeet, on this.
Nini, it would have gone through 20 people, okay? But those 20 people, 75% of them, let us suppose, were of the people who didn't want this to go through. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. So they wrote it up and they sent it to the boss. But the boss didn't have time to fully understand. He said, "Is it doing something?" Yes, it's doing something. Imagine like people like Trump and all these guys. They just want to. Is it agreed with the big tech? Yes, $100,000 fees, boss. $100,000. It's going to change. Every person will have to pay $100,000. People like Trump, a president, they are never reading the fine print. Okay, they are just asking somebody a question and just taking the word. So, because what is very anomalous, like what happened, very strange thing that has happened is, why would if he's so intelligent, Lutnick and Trump, why would they want to embarrass themselves? Like they were there on the stage saying that this is annual, every time, basically 6 years, so every year they have to pay. Why would they make this statement, which will be basically fly in their face within 24 hours? What could be the explanation for that? That's the question. That's my question at the top of my mind.
Yeah, it's so strange what happened. And I think tech companies actually reached out to their employees as well to return to US by September 20th. But I think they did some lobby or something. I think things changed after it was announced. That's what I could think.
No, the if you read this, Negan, proclamation is clear that people who are outside can come back. Okay, I will read that section to you. This is section 1B. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall restrict decisions on petitions not accompanied by $100,000 payment for H1B specialty occupation work under section 2 who are currently outside the United States for 12 months following the effective date of the proclamation as set forth in subsection A. Okay. So, who are currently outside. So, what he's saying is the Secretary of Homeland should restrict decision on petitions not accompanied by $100,000 of the applicants who are currently outside the United States. So, he's saying is when it comes to it is only the petitions filed from outside the United States. Okay, their decision of whether they should be granted, they have to give $100,000. Okay, otherwise we will not pay them. Otherwise, like, we'll restrict. Yeah, it's kind of very confusing. Like, but nowhere, if I read this, this section B is still confusing to me. It can be interpreted in many ways. So you are right that it could be, one hypothesis is that they meant it to be in this way, but the big tech basically twisted their arm, so they had to go back. Is that the hypothesis? Yeah, no comment. I know it's bizarre what happened in that press conference. And what is more bizarre is like how the Indian Twitter melted. Like, I didn't see many spaces happening in the American space, like, the Western space. People heard this news. There was some reaction by people like me and Amanda, like, who said, "Hey, this is kind of a fraud with MAGA." But the Indian Twitter space was a buzz, not the diaspora Twitter space. I think the diaspora Twitter space quickly figured out, who is impacted, who is not. But I saw most of this like talk happening in the Indians, like, So, Negan, could it be also directed at Modi more? This whole thing that make Modi kind of lose votes in the upcoming election?
Could be. I think it's gonna affect Modi, right? As people are gonna, if we look at the analogy, how it started with just two companies taking advantage of Russia-Ukraine war, right? And
Yeah, yeah. Yes, go ahead, please.
Arjit bhai, you have to see the issue here. The issue why Indian meet. I mean, this Twitter or Indian Twitter was so buzzing the whole time. I mean, Indians think they're entitled to move to America. I mean, that's the bottom line issue is, and that's where Americans are trying to press. Like, I mean, this Indian entitlement is becoming an issue in America now. That like they're making videos like we run Google, we run Microsoft, we run this, we run that. Like if you weren't here, you wouldn't have Google. Basically, their entitlement behavior is the main issue, core of the issue. 24/7, they are posting Google CEO Indian, X CEO Indian, Y CEO Indian. So and now that's becoming an issue. Like why Indian? I mean, Chinese are 10 times more successful than Indians, but nobody talks like this. I mean, they don't have an entitlement behavior. But Indians have an entitlement behavior that is becoming an issue. India is Vishwaguru. So if you're such a big economy, then just go back. Simple. Like I mean, and what's the issue then? I mean, Indian entitlement is becoming an issue, and that will lead to something big. I mean, they're saying we have the authority to move to America without and it's not your country. Basically, now they are running a whole narrative that is not your country.
That is true. And it'll be some kind of a reminder that hey, remain like it has a signaling value for sure, right? It kind of sends a reminder to people, hey, this is a privilege and it can be taken away from you at least, and it's a strong signal. Totally agree with you. Okay, totally agree with that. But my question is this: why send the signal in a way that you lose your own credibility? So if Trump had just signed this and said this is a one-time fee, blah blah blah, it would have been perfectly okay. It would have been still a strong signal. Okay, nothing would have been lost, and it would have done its desired impact. My question is, he basically was saying something else, but then he retracted on it. So rather than sending this signal that hey, you this is a privilege, has the signal backfired on the Trump administration, where now the world is going to interpret as that the US administration is now being totally controlled by the tech lobby, that they can make them eat their own words. So now I think this could have backfired on the US because you've lost all your credibility with MAGA and everybody else. If they were clean in the press conference and all these headlines had not come through, it would have had still the same impact. But now the discussion is, even people like me are asking a question, that did Trump backtrack in face of tech lobby and the interest groups? And if that is true, what does this tell about the level of influence that certain foreign governments have within America through the diaspora workforce? So it has raised more doubts on the American sovereignty than on whatever insecurity. That's true, that is still taken. Eh? That's the way I look at it. We have a Raj, Anna Raj, let's call him. Wasim Paji. ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੰਬਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ space. It's a Sunday evening, but I just want to get this out so people have this. This is a recorded space, so I'll probably end it quickly. Negan, anything to add before we end?
Nobody. I'm good. I was just here to hear, not to add anything, as I don't know much details. I'm looking more towards the other geopolitics things that are going on.
Yeah, that is more interesting. I totally get it. ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਸਪੇਸ ਖੋਲ ਲਓ ਜੇ ਖੋਲਣਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਸਪੇਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇਗਨ, ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਚੱਕਰ ਆ ਯਾਰ। ਮਤਲਬ ਸਾਡਾ ਨੈਰੇਟਿਵ
I think ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਦੇ ਸਪੇਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੋਲੀ ਜੀ 2-3 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਹੋਣੇ
ਆ JSK ਖੋਲਣ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਸੀ, ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬੰਦ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹ JSK ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਖੋਲਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਯਾਰ, ਸਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਨੈਰੇਟਿਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ ਸਾਡਾ ਨੈਰੇਟਿਵ ਜਾਣਾ। ਤੇ ਜੇ ਲੋਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੀ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਸਪੇਸ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਮੂੰਹ ਤਾਂ ਲੁਕੋਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਿੰਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ? ਸਾਰੇ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਸਪੇਸ, ਸਿਰਫ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆ ਰਹੇ, ਡੇਟਾ ਉਹ ਡਿਲੀਟ ਥੋੜੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਤੇ ਦੂਜੀ ਗੱਲ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਕਲਾਂ ਦਿਖਾਉਣ ਤੋਂ ਡਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ, ਉਹ ਯਾਰ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਸਪੇਸ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਡਰ? ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ? ਹੱਦ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਮਤਲਬ ਇੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਟੈਰਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੀ ਯਾਰ, ਥੋੜਾ ਸ਼ਰਮ ਕਰੋ। ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹਾਂ, ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਆਪਣਾ, ਘੱਟ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ ਨੈਰੇਟਿਵ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੋ ਕੀ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨਾਲ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਤੇ ਬੜਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਇੰਨਾ ਟਾਈਮ, ਇੰਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਈ ਸਪੇਸ ਇੰਨੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਲਾਈਕ ਦੇਰ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਗੁੱਡ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਨੇਟਿਵ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਪੂਰੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਬਾਰੇ। ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਚੰਗੇ ਸਪੇਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ, ਚੰਗਾ। ਹਾਂ ਚਲੋ, ਐਨੀਵੇਜ਼ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਐਂਡ ਫॉर योर टाइम। आई थिंक I'll end this quickly, we'll open a ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਪੇਸ, ਉੱਤੇ ਖੁੱਲ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। This was more a space and kind of supposed to be in English to people. Americans should know, it's a bit of a fraud that got conducted with them, yesterday. But still, it's a good step in the right direction. There will be some impact, but the impact will come to know only next year when the petitions come in. We will definitely revisit it and look at the number of petitions that actually got filed, got approved, or how much is the impact. But the reality is that there are already millions and millions and millions of H1B holders who are now in the system. It's important that the administration takes a look at how do we stop this excessive immigration and some way, so that the families are not impacted, the individuals are not impacted in a bad way. They have enough time, but kind of they can gradually move back to the countries from where they are supposed to be here temporarily. I think that's the right course. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. Talk to you guys later. Bye ji, Khalsa ji Fateh.
ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ, ਬਾਕੀ ਜੀ ਫਤਿਹ।